Do you use Facebook, Twitter, or other social media? Connect with us to get immediate access to behind-the-scenes videos, previews, and other postcards and Pioneer news.
When I was a child, I loved to sew and I loved to color and do different things like that. When I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I learned how to sew and started making some of my own garments and loved the fact that I could make something that was uniquely mine and nobody else had. When I was in high school, I continued taking sewing lessons through home economics class and I learned to crochet. And back then, everybody used acrylic yarn, so that's what I used. About 10 years ago, I walked into a yarn shop and saw a pattern for a knit felted stocking. And I had wanted to make that because I had lost a pregnancy early on. I was about 4 months along. And I wanted some way to acknowledge that that child existed in our lives. So I bought the pattern and the yarn shop owner said that I needed wool yarn. Well, I was aghast because wool yarn is scratchy. Who wants to use that? So she said, no, go pick out from those shelves over there. So I walked along and touched the yarns and was very surprised that some of them were soft. And I actually said, I don't think these are wool. And she said, yes, they are. I didn't realize that there were different breeds of sheep and some of them were soft. So I began my first project, which was a giant sock made out of wool yarn. Then you throw it in the washing machine and it shrinks down. And that's kind of what got me started with what I'm doing now with the fiber arts. So this is a stocking that I made for a son that I lost. His name is to be Samuel James, and the yarns that are on here were some of my first hand spun yarns that I got to use to embellish. That was just a way to remember that he was part of our family. So he gets to be part of our family every Christmas, and we get to think about him. Kind of think of him as my muse in a way. There are many different things in the fiber arts world. There's everything from crocheting to knitting to spinning to weaving. I also do dyeing of various fibers, both animal protein fibers and plant fibers. I have dabbled in wire knitting. There are many other things I haven't tried yet, but I think I have enough to keep me busy for quite some time. When I first started, I got into felting a lot because I started with the felt stocking. And I designed some knitting patterns shortly after I made that one and started knitting other people's patterns. I thought, oh, I want it to be like this, so I started designing my own, and I've designed over 40 patterns. But now I like to do everything from hats and scarves to sweaters and vests to I really enjoy the Nuno felting, which is a felting technique onto a fabric base. I guess I like it all. I mean, some things take longer, like socks, because it's knit on very tiny needles with very small yarn. It takes a lot longer than a sweater with larger fabric, but it's just fun to play with all different kinds of yarns and different kinds of fibers to make them. My studio space is in Milan, Minnesota. It's in the old Milan School building, also called the Greater Milan Initiative building. A group of people in Milan bought the building from the city when the school was closed, when they consolidated. And they opened up the classroom spaces for artist studios, and there are several in the building now, and there are still more available. So it's a wonderful use of a building that would otherwise sit vacant and probably have to be torn down. So the process of taking the wool from the animal is when you take the wool off of a sheep, say, it's dirty and it's greasy, it has lanolin in it, and the animals have been out in the field. So first the fleece is skirted, which means you take out anything that you don't want, anything from the back end of the animal or from the belly or the neck where it has lots of grass or hay or dirt or other foreign objects that we don't want in our wool. Then it gets washed which is in very hot water to dissolve the grease that's in the wool and take the dirt out. And then it's dried and then fluffed up and then carded. These are some locks of wool that have been washed, and this is one process of working with them. It's called carding. And these are actually old cards that are probably, I don't know if they're 100 years old or something, but this is the way our ancestors did it. And very often this was a chore that would have been left to the children because it's something they could do easily. It just helps to open up the fibers. Just keep doing that until fibers are the way you want them. And you can see little bits of grass and things there. You can pick them out, or sometimes they'll just fall out when you're spinning. Just take your fibers and roll them up. And then that's the fiber ready to go on the spinning wheel. So you can imagine doing that for pounds and pounds and pounds of fiber. That would take some time to do. It's a chance to work with many different fibers, everything from cottons and flax for linen to wools, different breeds of wool. And I love color, so you'll find lots of colorful things in the shop. Another thing that I really love is the connection with the past. I mean, men and women have been doing these things for thousands of years. You know, they have evidence of twisted fibers from 60,000 years ago. But it's just so fun to sit at my wheel or sit at a loom and know that people have been doing this for hundreds and thousands of years. And also, the connection with the animals is kind of cool too. I've been privileged enough to meet some of the animals that provide fiber that I spin with. I help at shearing at alpaca farms on occasion and have been there when they've sheared sheep. And it's fun to take that right off the animal and then wash it and process it and dye it sometimes and spin it, and just have that connection with the source and with the people who raise the animals and with the people who have done it for thousands of years. I guess for me, fiber art is a chance to create something in a new way using old techniques. I mean, we can spin very traditional yarn, which has been spun for thousands of years, or we can spin something fun and different using new materials that weren't available to our ancestors.